houses.
rush.
Hey, new truck?
Yeah, says live.
It does say we're live.
We'll see.
Get live.
It's like a rug.
Someone had to say it.
And we have Cedar today because Ian is
Off doing other things.
off doing the things again.
We see where we rate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you would like to keep the blanket fort cool, because as I walked up, Jim informed me that it's 111 in the shade, and why are you wearing all black?
I did.
Donate to Ko-Fi, the blanket fort, and we can keep the AC pumping because Jonas' shop is chilly, as it should be.
So I'm just going to tell you guys you're slightly askew.
Y'all are all wearing black. What the hell?
So
This is blue.
We
This is
are
blue.
you
the
are
three
slightly-
moms of the apocalypse.
There you go. That's better.
We're good.
You're re-skewing us.
We're centered now.
I can't stand things not hanging right. So.
We're slightly off center.
Oh,
We dress left. I mean,
thank you, John. No comment.
if you would like to be centered when you start your morning, drink King Harp's coffee.
Trying to kill me already?
Yes. The blanket fort blend is a very nice medium roast, and I have been drinking that one regularly for my mornings.
Oh. Needless to say, I'm outnumbered again, as usual.
You like it.
Courtney and Cedar are both here. So I'm hiding over in the corner.
Yes, yes. Jim has all three of the moms and not enough masculine company to achieve parity.
Yeah.
Even if Ian shows up.
And I got a haircut today, so I have hair down the back of my neck. So I'm in a fine mood today.
Just don't stand out in the sun, you'll sunburn.
You think?
It's a problem with a short haircut.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a lot cooler.
True, true. I will say that I'm appreciating my haircut.
Yeah.
I took about 12 inches off, and it does make a difference.
Yeah. And I would like to thank you for your help getting SteamYard to work.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad that helped because I was didn't know what I was coming over here to do, and every device I brought with me was about flat on battery.
Yeah. Oh, well. One thing I would like to ask the audience, we did get a StreamYard to work with Mona Lisa on Tuesday, and it's the first time we've ever done that. And I think it went fairly well. So I'll put out to the group here, what do y'all think about maybe trying to do that once a month with other people?
Having some guests on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I like the idea. I didn't get to watch that one because the day job has been hectic and I worked through it. But I think having guests on is a nice way to bring in some fresh ways to break
fresh meat.
Jim.
I'll not do it every week, but maybe once a month. do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, once a month seems reasonable.
All right.
So, yeah, I know it's something we've talked about doing with the broadcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh, joy, Raptor.
At least she's on the ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fun when you're sitting up there circling going, when are we going to land?
Yeah.
How much gas do we have left?
Mm-hmm.
Or like one of our trips back to the West Coast from Pensacola, we took off out of NAS Pensacola. We could see the end of the front.
Uh-oh.
If they let us go straight and turn right, we'd have been around it and gone.
Mm-hmm.
No, they turned us left.
Right into it?
No, we paralleled it
Ah,
to St. Louis
okay.
before we could finally turn left.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the radar operator, and I put us between two cells. So it was an interesting 15 or so minutes.
Yeah.
It was just a tad bumpy.
I was going to ask about the bumpy.
It was a little bit bumpy.
Ooh, Teacup Humans as guests. We have a couple of very young authors with Racontura. That would be a fun one. Maybe not for this, but maybe for the broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all can go ahead and handle that one. The mommies will take that one for action.
Oh, like you don't have the grandpa gene that pops right out. Well, that's at least you didn't die, Raptor.
Hey, crosswind landings are easy. You just stomp on the rudder pedal at the last second. Watch the airplane go yick. Of course, everybody on the airplane usually screams about that time, but Ian is looking a lot better today. Yes.
Much prettier.
I am not Ian's stunt double. You are Ian's stunt double.
Yeah, Hurricane Hillary's fixing to hit the left coast. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, somebody today said something about Hillary hitting Florida, and I'm like, wait, why? Who named a hurricane that? Who thought that was a good idea?
It's in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of rotations, Raptor. So that was moderate to severe turbulence for the airlines, which was normal for us. Yeah, did California threaten to testify? Good question. Oh, speaking of testifying, Maui. This is just getting stupider and stupider. The emergency management guy from Maui
Mm.
came out today and said he does not regret turning the sirens on. Because if they'd have let off the sirens, people would have run uphill into the fire.
Because that's the evacuation route
For-
that's planned for
tsunami.
tsunami.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me that if they set off the sirens and the Hawaiians came out of their house and looked up the hill and saw the fire, they were going to run up into the fire. That's what he was saying.
So I'm going to say that some of them probably would have, because I have seen people do incredibly stupid stuff, including driving into fires. However, not all of them would have.
Well, my
And
daughter
given-
did that on purpose a couple of times with it.
Right. So yeah, and
Ambulance.
Peter and Dorothy tell a story about driving through a fire.
Yeah.
And I have seen people do it, but
Yeah.
I don't think the vast majority of them would have. And certainly when we look at the losses that we're looking at now,
Yeah.
hindsight is just let them make that decision at that point.
Yeah, evolution in action. And now the number missing is up to 1,300.
Yeah.
There are over 100 dead.
And there's going to be a lot of people they're just never going to find.
Yep. And based on what I know about the campfire, those deaths will never be counted.
No.
They just moved away.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
moved away. Yeah.
There's a couple of cases that I'm aware of on Hawaii where it's pretty darn obvious that the people died for various reasons, but they're not counted as being dead because there's so many people that just live on the beaches in
Yeah.
Hawaii that these are like hikers that have gone missing and have been gone
Years.
years and years.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, they're probably just off beach combing somewhere, and their families are like, they would not
Yeah.
have done this to us.
Yeah.
John, the story about the cops blocking the exit out of Lahaina, I cannot verify that. I have only seen one report on that, and that report has disappeared. So I have no way to tell whether that is true or not. Did the duck show up? Yes, it did. Thank you very much, Richard. Yeah, Dan,
He does squeak.
anytime you get a gust of wind like that on the ground, you're as an aviator, you're worried about what's going to happen if you're halfway down the runway and you get another one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it also depends on what the runway is made out of. That may seem like a little thing, a bird giving a bird. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Wally. But depending on where you are in the world, the runway type plays a very important part in what's called the runway coefficient.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a volcanic runway, even though the airplane can take P3, for example, 40 knot crosswind,
Mm-hmm.
if we were flying out of Okinawa or Japan, we could not exceed a 15 knot crosswind because the runway in the rain was that slick.
Yeah.
and it would literally blow us off the side of the runway.
Yeah. The composition of the surface.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Yeah, Sarah, that's come up before. What you're seeing there is another conspiracy theory, because a lot of the big players, yeah. He said if the pilot and we were taking off, he planned on grabbing me and departing the plane. Yeah, because it was take off then crash. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what happens. And yes, Don, you're exactly right. Runway no grippy.
I'd imagine a little bit of rain would also make runway no grippy.
Actually depends on the runway.
Okay.
And ice runway actually has better braking than a standard runway with ice on it.
Oh no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because I've dealt with that sort of thing in Alaska.
Yeah.
So ice can be incredibly rough.
Oh, Jesse, that's going to be a good question.
Hmm.
Jesse raises another point. I really don't want to get off into the weeds here, but
Oh, please do.
there's
Look,
this thing.
it's hot outside, and I can't imagine whether, I mean, because heat affects the air,
Yeah, it's called density altitude.
and heat affects the rubber in the tires. So if they're raising the temperature for takeoff and landing, how is that going to affect things?
Well, okay. Down the rat hole we go. Sorry.
We like learning things.
Yes.
It raises the density altitude, which is also called the pressure altitude.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it makes the air thinner. So I'll use Denver because I've encountered this in Denver for real. Denver is 5,200 feet. There he is. Yeah. He's only,
Hate buying cars.
He made it.
Hate buying cars.
well,
Did you buy one?
No.
Okay.
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 You want to sit here?
Look like I want to sit there.
And he's wearing black. What the hell, people?
Well, I had to
Blue.
look. I had
This
to,
is blue.
I had to look. I had to look somewhat less like a knuckle dragging thug when I went to buy a car.
Hawaiian shirts do not signal knuckle dragging thug.
When
They
I
do
wear 'em,
send
they do.
signals,
When
but
I wear 'em, they do.
Okay.
This one's gonna shank me in the back if we're alone.
110 degrees and we're wearing black. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we
Yes.
are.
And
So-
jeans.
So, pressure
Squeaks.
altitude. So, Denver being 5,200 feet altitude anyway,
Mhm.
Denver requires longer takeoff distance because you have effectively started at 5,000 feet in the air,
Mhm.
A mile up.
mile up when you go to take
Mhm.
off.
Okay.
So, the air is not that thick,
Mhm.
which is why you get the long runouts here. Get a cup
Oh.
for that. You're going to need it.
Why? Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah. Unless you want it in your lap.
Good thing you pointed that out. That would have been less than optimal.
So, what happens is you're effectively trying to take off at 5,000 feet.
Mhm.
Now add in being hot in the summer at Denver. So now the pressure altitude goes up. And we actually saw that pressure altitude at Denver in the middle of the summer when we went into Stapleton to drop some people off at 9,800 feet.
Wow.
And P3 is an overpowered airplane. And we did the math and went, we're staying for a while. Because we would have run out of runway, 8,000 feet of runway, before we got in the air. Because the air simply was not thick enough.
What did you do is pour a can of Pepsi?
It had a oopsie.
Dude,
So, question on that, which is basically, do you wait until it's dark and gets cooler?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either that or try to take off and die. That's your choice.
Well, yeah,
Right, I-
no,
I would
obviously.
wait. Yeah.
I have a textile note.
you're up to something.
Always.
Oh.
Like that's news. Black in fabrics actually helps block UV rays, so it minimizes sunburn for a lot of people. People think you wear white and it helps, but very often the UV will go right through the white fabrics. So you'll notice Bedouins wear a lot of black and dark colors out
Also,
in the desert for a
Black
reason.
body radiation is a thing.
Yes, it is. So
Mm-hmm.
And it's still hotter than hell.
yeah,
Yeah,
Do we need to make that announcement we were talking about on Messenger, or we already done it?
not yet.
not yet.
Which announcement?
Don't ask me. I don't
No,
know.
not. We have to talk about it.
Okay.
But we're learning about takeoffs in heat. So
So
Yes.
effectively what they've done in Phoenix is they're going to make the runways shorter due to the temperature because the pilots are going to have to make a longer run to take off. Now, the other thing that's going to do is it's going to cause the tires to overheat
And expand.
and expand.
mhm.
So now they're going to have to be very careful about bringing the hot tires into the wheel well. So they will actually have to go slower on climb out
Mhm.
to allow the tires to cool down before they can bring the gear up.
This is all very complicated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because you bring hot tires up into the wheel well
Mm-hmm.
and you have the potential for one hell of a fire
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'm going to guarantee you there's hydraulic fluid and grease and who knows what else up in the most main gear wells
If you're flying in West Africa, there's natives.
or snakes or under assorted things.
Or both.
Yeah.
It's
Where
fire
was
bad.
it? Somewhere I remember they landed and like frozen tarantulas fell out or something like that. Or am I misremembering something? It's
Yeah.
entirely possible I'm not remembering something correctly.
Actually, that was coming out of Guam back to the States. And it was I want to say Continental airplane. And they landed, I believe, at either LAX or San Diego. And there were snakes on the runway that had fallen out of the landing gear.
That might be what I was remembering.
Well, because Guam has a thing about no snakes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, they were not. They were not coming out of Guam. They were coming out of the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
And when they landed, they literally had snakes fall out of the airplane.
Yeah.
They were cobras, and apparently not happy cobras.
I can imagine.
I don't know of any cobras that have ever been happy.
No.
Here, have a monkey and shut up.
Yeah.
John Van Stry, we've had guys fall out of airliners when the airplanes lowered their gear to land at
Yes.
JFK.
The joke about the Nigerians, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except it's not a joke.
Yeah.
No, and here recently when Nigeria is, for those of you who don't know, Nigeria is on fire right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there was a article earlier, a week or so ago, about a cargo ship that looked when it got to South America and found a bunch of Nigerians on the rudder.
Yeah.
Then made transatlantic the hard way.
Yeah. Huey Cobras. Yeah. Huey Cobras actually did have a problem in Vietnam, along with plain Hueys. And that was since they had this nice path directly into the inside of the airplane, up the landing gear, they would routinely do that. So you literally had snakes in a plane.
Snakes on this motherfucking plane.
And that was why in that part of the world, we always took our ladder when the last guy was off and we had the door locked.
Mm-hmm.
We would take the ladder and fold it back up and hook it so that it did not touch the ground. No, we are not.
Not more than once anyway.
And that's also junior guy out with a snake stick.
No.
I went there too.
No.
I'm Army. I went to snake stick and just no.
Yeah.
Bad private. Bad private.
There was a scene in The Fifth Element fumigating a spaceship. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that actually though makes sense. I've written that into a couple of stories for various reasons because I mean, look at here on Earth, we have various pests that have been transported in the holds of ships deliberately, and some
That's-
were actually deliberately done, and some were
Yeah.
definitely
And that's
not.
how rats got everywhere.
Yeah.
Was
Yes.
hitching a ride.
Yes.
Zebra
we're-
mussels here in
we've-
Texas.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've been to many parts of the world where we would land back somewhere better, and we would be met by customs agents with spray cans,
Yeah.
hmm
and they would spray the inside of that airplane, trying to kill us and whatever else had come back with us.
Well, banana spiders and crates of bananas from South America.
Yep.
Rats have managed to spread throughout the entire world.
Yeah.
Rats, for those of you who don't know, rats are an indigenous Vietnamese species.
Yep.
Rats and chickens. They're indigenous. Rats are indigenous to riverways in Vietnam.
Yep.
Where chickens are indigenous jungle fowls.
hmm
And chickens, well, we like chickens. They're the most efficient way to convert insects into actual food that we have.
Which that doesn't necessarily mean meat all the time, because
Yeah.
eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the invasive mussels is another one.
Yeah.
The pythons in Florida
Yeah.
and Louisiana.
The pythons that
And
are heading
iguanas.
this way
Yeah.
were not. They're not hid out in the hold of a ship. That's some moron going, "Ooh, Celeste is too big," thud, and set their snakes free.
Well, the anacondas that are coming up from South America came in banana boats
Yeah.
because they would get up in the bananas.
Kudzu was a deliberate
Yeah,
transport.
kudzu was- yeah.
It was meant to be erosion control. There's a couple of different
Yeah,
plants that are
DDT used to be in the
invasive.
wind.
yes.
kudzu and bloody Bradford pears.
Vietnamese jungle chickens are not cool, Dawn. They're noisy fuckers
Really, that's what
at the
chickens-
wrong
She's talking
time.
about cool looking. She's
yeah,
not wrong. They are really
chickens
neat looking.
came out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
did rats.
Malaria is becoming endemic in Florida again. Yeah,
Note the again.
Yeah.
People do understand that malaria was a major disease in the U.S. up until DDT, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks of malaria as an African disease.
Yeah.
No, it was all over
Yep.
the U.S.
Well, one of the things that when I did the summer reading program with the teenagers and we looked at the cemetery, I plotted every summer there would be an epidemic of yellow fever, which is a mosquito-borne disease, and up until DDT, every summer you would have people dying, mostly young people, from yellow fever.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah. The spider in Austrian grocery store that gave men a permanent hard on. Yeah,
okay, that one's different. I'm gonna have to look up the neurotoxin involved there.
yeah. But some spider bites you, and yeah, you got
Yeah.
a problem. If it
And-
lasts more than 4 hours,
And tuberculosis
Call
is
the
not
Guinness Book of World
just
Records and the doctor.
tuberculosis itself isn't a big deal necessarily. We have treatments. It's the multi-drug resistant tuberculosis that is an ongoing global pandemic, and for a reason. That shit's scary because it
And-
is airborne.
and it is in California
There's
in the
Yep.
school
There's
system.
either
Yep.
3 or 4 ongoing pandemics. I don't know why everybody was
Okay.
losing their poo over COVID.
So there
Yeah.
are two other than COVID, which would be
AIDS.
HIV/AIDS and multi-drug resistant tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And multi-drug resistant tuberculosis is the one that scares the crap out of me because it is airborne, and because it's such a small pathogen, it can linger in the air for up to 7 days.
Yeah, you've also got MRSA.
MRSA's not a pandemic.
It's
though.
not a pandemic,
It's
but
it's not nice. It's
Yeah.
Polio
not
is
fun,
often
but-
an ongoing pandemic.
polio. Well, see, that's the thing with pandemic and epidemic. Yes, pandemic
Epidemic,
is
you're right.
is the global.
yeah,
So-
so y'all had to get tested coming back into the States. And that's typical.
And you know where the hot spots for polio right now? Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Afghanistan is a polio hotspot. Guess where we just brought a shit ton of people
Yeah.
without, and it quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we didn't check anybody for polio.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they don't have inoculations over there because the Taliban
Because it's Taliban.
and the Muslims didn't allow it.
I mean, that's the whole thing that frustrates me about the mess with COVID, because
Yeah.
by and large,
That's the only thing that
vaccinations.
frustrated you?
one of many things. One of many things. But this is the one that I think is going to have the long running knock on effects that can
Yeah.
do the most damage, which is that by and large, vaccinations are a good thing. Because we really don't want some of these diseases running around
Rampant.
Yeah.
loose, and we really need to develop some vaccines for certain things. Would be nice. So the
And then
whole,
you have the Jenny McCarthy's of the world.
Oh,
Right.
God, that's silly.
yeah, and don't even get me started on autism and the supposed link to vaccines, because that's a soapbox I will step on.
That's one you'll jump on and add a couple more boxes.
Yeah, but the whole thing of that is the fact that the people that really need to get vaccines, the countries where we are dealing with these diseases and stuff, they now have much more vaccine hesitancy than they did before. And they had a lot before, and with good reason.
Yeah.
There have been some weird medical experiments carried on in countries outside of the US because they couldn't get away with it here, so they went elsewhere and experimented on people.
Well, there have
Which
been
is-
some weird experiments in the
Yes.
U.S. too.
Yes. But the whole thing there is just, I had an infuriating conversation with the professor that was teaching the epidemiology class that I took.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Ascaris, which is for most of us that didn't grow up in the medical safe bubble that is mainstream America, Ascaris is pinworm. And a lot of kids had worms when we were kids, and we got treated for them, and it's no big deal. But the problem is that if you're in a country where you're already suboptimal nutrition and suboptimal health care, and you don't wear shoes because you can't afford shoes, and also culturally it's just not a thing, the pinworm load on a small child prevents them from fully developing.
Yeah.
So you have a lot more death, a lot more childhood mortality, but you also have a significantly underdeveloped IQ, intelligence. They don't have enough nutrition to feed them and their worm load so that their brain doesn't fully develop properly.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to the professor about the push for clean water in Africa, but also for wearing shoes, even just simple flip-flop type shoes. And she was like, well, it might be better if not as many people survived. And I about lost my shit because I had run into, academically speaking, that I knew that there were people out there that felt that depopulation was a thing. I never expected to be standing there having a conversation with a woman that thought that depopulation, especially of an underdeveloped continent, would be a thing.
Yeah.
But there are people out there, and this is what they believe based on the fact that they've been taught that we have too many people and we should do away with people
Yeah.
by neglect.
Depopulation advocates should lead by example. I agree, Raptor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is permissible eugenics. That's exactly what it is.
Was your professor Margaret Sanger?
No, she was an otherwise seemingly rational and reasonable person, a mother of two. I mean,
I want to wipe out the brown people of color.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and she probably never thought through what she was saying
She
there.
probably never thought. Period.
There are reasons that I opted not to go for a PhD, and that might have been one of them.
Don
I mean, I
says-
couldn't afford it, but that was a whole other thing.
Don says, I get a dose of dewormer for my weight whenever I worm horses. So I feel
Right.
safe, and it does not taste like apple.
Right.
Okay,
No.
so what you want to check there is to make sure that the dewormer is actually going to deworm for the worms that you might actually have, because not all dewormers work for your parasitic load.
Personally, I remember when we were kids in Africa, we took a dewormer once a month.
Yeah.
And I remember we had to change because there was one that we'd been taking for a while, and it got to the point I couldn't take it anymore because I was so nauseated and sick afterwards. And
Mm-hmm.
I was dumb, didn't tell anybody until Mom and Dad were fighting to get me to take this pill because it's Africa, you need your worm pill.
Yeah,
And I was not gonna take it.
yeah.
And they finally asked why not. So it makes me sick, and they just changed
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, which is prolonged treatment with the same chemicals can lead to resistance. So
Hell, that's any medication.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it goes for parasitics as well.
Yeah.
There are a few things that can be used for prolonged treatment, but they're not. They basically attack the physical weaknesses. So like diatomaceous earth works with insects, and they can't adapt around what diatomaceous earth does to them.
Yeah.
So
You're awfully quiet, Courtney.
I worked with
I went ranty. Sorry.
I'm listening. I'm learning things.
I worked with a chief that had spent a number of years in Vietnam, and he had a tapeworm that he literally named George. And when they finally were able to kill it, it was almost 3 feet long.
Oh, that's not too.
Yeah.
They can get a lot longer than
Yeah.
that.
I've seen a lot longer. I've seen a guy with a 6-foot rope hanging out his butt.
But he went from 155 pounds to over 200 pounds
When he lost George,
when he lost George.
Well, and
And he's like,
there
put that son of a
seriously
bitch
was a diet pill marketed back in the day that was a tapeworm segment.
Yeah.
Now, I have a feeling that those tapeworm segments were not viable, but
it was back in the day. They might have been.
they might have
Yeah.
been. You weren't sure, and people bought them thinking that they were.
yeah, exactly. Well, he was eating for 2 and then some.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Two and the grandkids.
and that's the other really interesting thing is that there's now a school of thought that the predominance of autoimmune disorders may actually be related to the fact that we can medically prevent most parasites.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
our bodies are now overreacting
Yeah,
and attacking
the
ourselves.
Body is the thought is the body is used to a certain parasite load.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's used to dealing with this parasite load, and it loads up and fires, and when there's no parasites, it gets the next best thing.
And that's part of the problem because
Kids need to eat dirt.
what exactly? Think about the way we were raised. Well, some of us were raised playing outside, getting dirty.
Come back when the street lights come on. What?
Yeah.
What street lights? There were no street lights where
Yeah.
I grew up.
There weren't anywhere I was either. We were out.
In
Edge
the
of town.
70s, those of us who are 70s children remember the ad. It's 10 o'clock. You know where your kids are? They had to remind our parents to look for us.
Yeah. Sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't.
Oh, shit. Where are the kids?
Oh,
But
wait, I have kids.
Shit.
the kids today,
Yeah.
and I have seen this with my grandkids
Mhm.
when they were over at I'll just say somewhere else, and I happened to be along, where they were not allowed to go out of the house. And because my grandson went out in the backyard and came back in, he was made to go wash his hands immediately. And then they made him wipe his hands down with
Sanitized towel.
sanitizer.
This over sanitization of
Yeah.
everything. is-
Now,
if
my
we-
grandkids,
If you have someone that is severely immunocompromised, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no.
but that's the routine for most kids
I
today.
know.
At the park over here by the lake, by
Yeah.
Jim's house, you can watch. There'll be mothers with kids in strollers, and every time the kid gets out of the stroller, there'll be a pack of wipes.
Yeah.
And she'll yank out a wipe and wipe the kid's hands down. It's like, let him eat dirt.
Yeah.
Here, have a bug. Chow
Yeah.
down.
Honestly, I have to say that park over by Jim's house, there are a lot of Canada geese over there. I don't know.
Stress
Dirt
test
is one thing.
stress test that immune system.
Yeah.
You.
But my grandkids have eaten dirt. They've been licked by dogs.
Yeah.
They played with cats. They go out. They get dirty.
Mhm.
They don't get cleaned up until it's time for them to take a bath and go to bed.
Mhm.
And they have very few problems.
Yeah.
Most of the kids that are their age group,
Don't. They're,
they've got
They're
allergies up to yin yang.
they're
Yeah.
screwed.
I mean, and I saw this when I would go out and buy them clothes for Christmas. And I'm looking at how much I got to spend,
Mhm.
and I'm not going after the Oshkosh shit or the expensive shit.
Right.
I'm going down to the Goodwill and looking for the
Yeah.
Right.
slightly used because I know they're going to grow out of it in 3 or
Yeah.
4 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And you'd see these people going into the store at Christmas and they're buying onesies in Oshkosh, shoes in Nike
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
that these kids are going to outgrow in 3 months.
Yep.
They're spending $1,000.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
a
I
lot
just
of
heard today the average cost this year for a child to go to school,
Mhm.
just in equipment
Mhm.
and necessary items, is $800.
I spent $175 on welding supplies for the kid to go to college.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any books this year, thank goodness. Oh, and then today I spent a further $12 for suspenders because somebody has got nothing and the pants are just.
Yeah.
It's like, will you buy me suspenders? Yes, I will buy you suspenders.
Yeah,
Addition
Tom,
knows no acetol.
she
He's
does
been
have
losing
that
weight,
habit,
which is good.
but she also had a good reason, because when you're working in ICU and infectious
Mhm.
disease wards, that is a requirement. But by the same token,
Yeah.
you can overdo it,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
and
And you'll
Well,
break your skin.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so here's the story of triclosan, which is a chemical that was in freaking everything up
Oh, God,
until
yes.
just recently, because everything was being marketed as being antibacterial. So they put triclosan in it. Well, triclosan doesn't break down quickly. So your dish detergent and your hand soaps and God knows what else that this stuff was in, all run into the water supply, and all of a sudden you've got resistant.
Sanitized water supply.
Well, you don't have a sanitizer. You have resistant bugs
Mhm.
that are growing because you're constantly deluging them with antibacterials.
Yeah.
And so now triclosan has been, I don't know if they've outlawed it here in the U.S. It was in the EU. We have an alarm. I don't know why I don't
Endangered
ever get
juvenile.
those.
You
I don't
smart.
get them. Somehow I managed to turn them off. So
Wish I could manage to turn this on. Bloody hell.
I don't know
Yeah.
how, but so the reason I can only wear nitrile gloves, Winkle Red, is because I spent 16 years as a professional balloon twister, and I have a sensitivity to latex. So latex gloves, the first thing I do when I walk into a lab is ask them what kind of gloves they expect me to use. And I did have one lab that went out and bought nitriles for me because everybody else uses latex. Latex is cheap.
Yeah.
The problem with the prolonged use of latex is that people become allergic to them.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a big deal for me. It gives
I
me a
didn't-
rash,
I didn't
but
know anybody was using latex gloves anymore.
it's cheaper. And then during the pandemic, because everybody was
Everybody
using
bought
gloves,
nitrile.
well, not only that, but the two biggest glove makers in the world were in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And one of them shut down entirely because of COVID. Something their like entire workforce was sick. So they stopped making gloves. So I was like, we need to buy all the gloves we can get at market value now. So, but yeah.
Jesse, I'm on a government one. That's why it keeps going off.
Mm.
I'm on a government alerts package
Yeah.
Mhm.
that I have not figured out how to get rid of.
Well, and that's also something Jesse talks about. He has to use nitrile. The resins he works with can cut through it to latex. And there are things that will also go through nitrile.
Hydrochloric acid,
Right. Well,
sulfuric
sulfuric
acid.
and
Ooh.
nitric, you have to have an entirely different glove setup for that. I had a lab switch because I showed them what happened if you had a
Yeah.
nitrile glove get too much of this on it. It goes
Yeah.
up in flames.
Evelyn, please be careful and do not.
What's Evie doing?
That hurt your
She
She-
lost 2 jars in the water bath. Fortunately, in the water bath is not explosive, just
Yeah.
disappointing.
But
Because-
she's going to be fishing those friggin' pieces of glass out.
Right. Well, fish the whole ones out first, and then you can run the rest of it through a
It's
colander
rainbow.
or something, and then into a container to catch that.
Yeah.
So,
Do not reach in there with your fingers.
so yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's all these random little things that about how we treat safety and how we get overly concerned with safety.
Chlorine trifluoride. Yeah. No.
Anything with fluoride in it just makes me nervous.
Like your toothpaste.
So
No,
I
like
worked
trifluoride, difluoride, foof.
I worked in a lab that involved one of the labs involved hydrofluoric acid, which is nasty crap, and it will kill you. And the treatment for it is a calcium chloride paste, and it was kept in the locked manager's office.
Oh,
That does a lot of good.
Well, I mean, if she was there,
OSHA
the
must have been
office wasn't
involved, huh?
locked. No, OSHA was not involved.
we're going to take the stuff that will save your life and put it behind this locked door.
Mhm.
Right, because
Now, fortunately, the hydrochloric acid will eat through a lock.
yeah, but it'll also eat your bones.
Yeah, I
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
I'm
idea.
not
Have a look
even-
at the MSDSs is very important.
If they'll
So-
show them to you.
They're
You
required
have to.
Find me an MSDS on the body scanner. It doesn't fucking exist. You
Sure.
cannot get it.
That's because the MSDS on a body scanner, MSDS is meant for
Chemicals.
chemicals. So that the body scanner would have to have a whole nother
There
thing.
is supposed to be anything that radiates is supposed to have an MSDS.
Mm.
You cannot find one on a body scanner that TSA uses.
I'm going to guess that
Period.
they have hidden it by not being clear about what is radiating. And if you knew what it was, then you'd be able to find it. But
They
my
will
guess
not allow
is,
you to take a radiometer through on them. I
Right.
know that,
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that they're deliberately obscuring it. So you
which
can't.
is illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to defend the TSA. I'm just saying this is probably what they're doing.
I don't want YouTube to shut us down, so I'm just not going to.
PSDS, PTSD, whatever.
Yeah, Mark's saying actually with it being a particle accelerator, they don't have to have one, and that's what I'm yeah, because material safety data sheet is what MSDS
Yeah.
stands for. So unless you're going to track down the whole wave versus particle thing,
They're
Yeah.
hiding behind a loophole.
yeah, they're
Yes.
hiding behind a loophole.
Yeah.
It's TSA.
So
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go any further because I don't
Yeah.
want YouTube to shut us down.
Yeah, you and me both. We'll stop that one. Let's move on to a different thing.
oh, there are so many different things.
Yeah. Writing.
But writing.
Yeah. Writing. We have lots of writing.
I have
You may. I haven't been writing.
Well,
Or- Orthodox Jedi. They're particles. Okay.
If I could put, everybody here knows how much I hate monkeys, right?
Uh-huh.
If I could dress a troop of baboons in TSA blue, they would do a better job.
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. TSA is safety kabuki. We're gonna stop this discussion
Yes.
before we.
So
get,
what are we writing?
Ook, ook.
We have stuff.
Jeez.
I need stories for the oil field.
The oil
Yeah.
patch? Yes. What is
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
what is the deadline on that?
31st of August.
Oh, coming right up.
Yeah.
then.
I have 3 stories so far. I need more.
At my writing pace, I'm afraid I can't promise you anything.
Okay. There may be some people on here that will actually give me a story.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Hello.
Right like the wind. And yes, I did cut my hair about 12 inches off.
And Becky's late to the party. I thought women are supposed to
Adorable.
notice that immediately, if not sooner.
Well, Becky hasn't been on for a while.
Oh,
No.
Becky's busy not noticing she's on the cover of books.
yeah.
Becky is moving.
That's
Oh.
not an excuse.
Yes, it is. She
No, it's
bought a
not.
house. They're painting and doing freshen ups before they actually move into the house, which presumably means that they're packing. So, and I remember those days. No, I don't remember. I don't remember enough to tell you details.
Yeah, Kelly, you do need to write a book.
Mhm.
Kelly
You-
Grayson?
No,
No,
Kelly Eads.
Yes,
Oh,
you do.
the 6 Degrees of Jim Curtis. I found a series of books and have been reading them and enjoying them because they're very humorous, and an aviator wrote them. But I'm going to have to look up the author's name because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But it's
Okay.
a guy that was flying in Central and South America in like the 1990s. So you probably don't because I don't think there's a lot of overlap. But the writing,
It's Jim Curtis.
but the writing made me think of you because it's funny. The guy's hilarious. So the first one of his that I found and was reading is called Flying Naked. So you can kind of see why it caught my attention. And it was on Kindle Unlimited, so why not?
I had a flight engineer that almost did that one time.
Well, this was evidently a prank, so they really were stripping down and going
Oh, yeah.
out for flights.
We got ready alert launch out of Misawa, Japan, back in Jesus 1976. Yeah, 76.
Gentleman's name was Michael Blériot. Bleriot. So
Doesn't ring a
And-
bell.
now
What was his
What was his call sign?
call sign?
I-
Oh, that's a bitch.
I am not sure that he ever says what it is, but yeah, the one I found first and was a lot of fun is Flying Naked, an American pilot in the Amazon jungle.
Yeah.
So then he's written several.
Just find him on Facebook, send a message. Hey, Jim Curtis sends his regards. See what happens.
So there's a question. Do we stalk the authors that we like?
Somebody
Yes.
says, yeah.
I try not to. I end up doing that anyway. But
I don't know.
it's
Does
not
that,
on purpose.
does that ear piercing squee count?
I've only did that once or twice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually-
evidently a number of people have flown naked.
Yeah. Becky, I've known a couple of guys that were call sign Baron. Yeah.
Don,
So-
I don't stalk them. They show up at my house.
So we had an early morning alert launch, like 3:00 in the morning. And this is Misawa, dead of the winter. So everybody goes hauling ass to the airplane. We have to go grab tapes and other things, get on the airplane, and we're taxiing out. And here's set 5, which is everybody buckle up. We're fixing to take off. And all of a sudden we hear laughter. And out of the cockpit comes this voice from the pilot going, I don't fucking believe it. And he, so we all kind of lean out and look down toward the cockpit. And we see this hand come up and it's covered in white. It's like, that's not a flight suit. So we take off
I'm kind of scared.
and everybody goes running up to the cockpit as soon as it releases. And here sits the flight engineer in boots and a helmet and his LPA in his long underwear. He had forgotten to put on his flight suit.
Oh no. He's going to be cold.
Nobody caught it. Nobody caught it until we were getting ready to take off.
Oh.
Talk about focused on what we were doing. So 8 hours later, we came back, or 10 hours later, we came back and landed. It was dark again. And he's going, I'm going to the truck. Y'all finish the post flight. I'm going to the truck.
I would imagine he got rather cold. That's meant to be a layer, not
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Pants are overrated.
Yeah.
Highly overrated.
That was actually my comment on the
on the-
Writer Dojo.
Speaking of Redder Dojo,
Yes.
That was fun.
That was a very fun episode.
Yeah.
I listened to it while I was working today, and at one point Sanford wandered over and he's like, Ian's voice and accent are very distinctive.
ouch. I worked so hard on that. I really do.
Well, if you listen to the three of you, I can easily tell when Steve is talking and Larry is talking and you're talking, and not just because I know Larry's voice and your voice. I'm not as familiar with Steve. But Jack and Steve sound similar enough
do.
that I can't necessarily tell them apart
Mm-hmm.
unless I know who is talking.
Yeah.
So,
I got the after credit
She
scene.
did.
yes, you did. It was beautiful.
The after credits was typical Jonna.
Yeah.
Jonna in one sentence.
Yeah. But I didn't realize how fast I talked. I was listening through the episode again, and everyone's got this nice, steady cadence pace. And they asked me a question, like, boom, off we go. And I'm like,
You had a lot of information to get out.
Yeah.
in a very small amount of time. And I was trying not to take up too much time. And
It's also nerves.
I'm just talking to them. Yeah, okay, there were nerves.
I'm actually kind of glad. A lot of the times, if I'm listening to like a podcast type thing for when I'm working, I've got the speed at 1.25. And I think that episode at 1.25 would have been a little bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't read and listen to a lot of stuff at 1.5, and I can't understand what they're saying.
1.5 is a little too fast.
1.75 or 1.5 if I can manage it.
Yeah.
Because some people talk really slow and it gets really obnoxious.
Well,
But
they speed it up. The pitch rises, and it gets to a point where I can't understand what the hell they're saying.
And there was one podcaster I really wanted to listen to because he was talking about more obscure like fairy tales and folklore, which I study because of what I wrote. But his speaking cadence drove me insane because he would say a word or two and pause and then say another word or two, and it wasn't like punctuation pauses. It was just his speaking cadence had these weird pauses in it, and I was like, nope, can't listen to this guy.
Listen, Kurt, pick it up.
All right, Tom, fine.
Which Tom?
Roggaby. Depends on the speaker. Y'all down south talk quite slow. A couple of
do.
people I listened to from the Northeast sound like a 33 and a third played at 45. Yeah,
that would be me.
thought it was more like 33 to the third at 78. I've heard you get started.
I take a breath every now and then. It happens.
Better
Only when the
5
water starts
minutes.
graying out.
Yeah. I've got great lung capacity. I can go for a while without taking a breath.
No comment.
That's an interesting pattern on that. Well, that's a really interesting pattern on the back. I like it.
Oh. Courtney could be an auctioneer. That would actually be really fun to get her do the whole pattern thing.
Oh,
We might have to
God.
set that up at a con someday.
That could be interesting.
The
That could
thought
be
of Courtney
interesting.
any faster than she is now is kind of terrible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
female.
Hispanic
female voice
female
on the
radio
radio.
operator. Yeah. Well, not only that, but when I was taking Spanish classes, I was listening to like Mexican radio channels, trying to pick up some of, and I swear all of the commercials, they have to speed that audio up because no one can humanly speak that fast.
Oh yeah, they can.
And the weird thing is it's Mexicans that do it.
Yeah.
Cubans sound like they're angry, but not fast. Puerto Ricans, not a quick.
Yeah.
Those guys are sound like they're stoned.
And then you get Germans who sound like they're pissed at the world.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I want to have ice cream.
One of the plants where I worked had been Puerto Rican in origin. How they wound up with a subsidiary plant in Ohio, I'm still not clear on. But a lot of the upper management in the plant was Puerto Rican, and yeah, listening to them speak Spanish to one another was very much more relaxed cadence.
Stoned.
well, it also depends on which Spanish you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans.
Yeah.
Tom makes a good point. They speak fast because they're looking at the Mexican white little lady, and it's changing their blood chemistry. Yes.
I do think they choose them for their
I'm
Measurements.
sure
Attributes.
that they do.
Yes, they do.
Mhm.
Because when it all comes down to it, it's a macho society.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there are many types of Hispanic, Spanish, Mexican languages.
Mhm.
And it literally depends on what country you're from,
Mhm.
which version you speak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like if you go down to Brazil, for example, it's Portuguese,
Yes.
Mhm.
which is a version of Portuguese.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's called Portuguese for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not quite Portuguese and it's not quite Spanish.
Mhm.
And you've got Argentina, where they all sound like Spanish by way of
Germany.
Germany.
Germany,
What I learned Castilian Spanish in
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
high school.
which
Which-
is European Spanish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And each
And
country
we'll-
can tell where the other's from. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mexicans speak will look at you weird if you address them in Castilian Spanish.
Which is actually really funny to do when you're,
Yes.
anyway. I used it a lot when I was working at the theme park.
Wally says, so there's a correlation between the Mexican weather ladies and spiders found in banana crates. Possibly.
Possibly.
That one's
If
a
it
little
lasts
bit more
longer
of a
than 4
stretch.
hours.
Call Guinness. And it all.
Actually, it's funny because you said Portuguese and it made me think of something. So a couple of years ago, I gave my husband a DNA test thingy for Christmas. He wanted it. And we've moved it at least twice. And he was just like, because a lot of these times he's not a big gift person, so I'll give him things and then they just never get used. So I didn't really think anything of it. And after the heart attack, about a month later, he did the test thing and sent it off, and he got the results today. And they were not what he was expecting. And the one oddball thing that he was like, I don't know where that one came from, is he's got 1% Basque.
Oh,
Which explains a lot about my husband, to be honest.
there's a basket in the woodpile.
There's a 2% on mine that keeps changing. It keeps coming back to Portuguese. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm related to Sarah at some point.
And
Just-
that
Yeah.
was kind of what I was like. No, he's very, very Celtic, much more so than he thought. He thought there
Yeah.
was going to be some German in there because when he was a GI, he could pass as a German and actually kind of got adopted by a German family. But no, he's Appalachian hillbilly bloodline, and looking at his
Dead on.
DNA,
Yeah. Basque
that
are
was-
actually Celtic. Yeah.
Elizabethan England era shenanigans led to a lot of people settling in the Appalachian Mountains and then just staying there. That would be where my husband came from.
Well, the Appalachians related a bunch of the Scots fleeing their clearances, reminded of the Highlands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, and so Appalachian English is close linguistically to Elizabethan English,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is really interesting. I found that out years and years ago, and then as I've gotten to live near Appalachia, in Appalachia for a while when I was very young, so now it's kind of like you look at it, and the things that we see as being bad English when you hear
Mhm.
an Appalachian, someone that's up from high in the hollers
Yeah.
talking, and you're like, well, that's bad English, but no, it's actually more pure than.
Yeah.
purely speaking English.
There were
Or as Tom says, we've all been kicked out of the best countries in the world.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Well,
Yep.
So
I
Speaking
know.
of getting kicked out of things, a few of us are taking a run down to San Antonio this weekend.
Santone.
San Antonio, as we say down here. Heinz 57 Euro trash. Pretty much. And Becky says, brother discovered we're related to an earl who lost everything and became a highwayman. And
there is no basement at the Alamo.
Ask Tom about. Tom's on here. Ask him about his experiences at the Alamo.
Yeah.
That's what Tom just said. Check out the basement at the Alamo. Oh.
Apparently, big giant Viking Tom
doesn't fit well in the
when a
Alamo.
little old Southern lady tells him he will take off his hat,
Yeah.
he says yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember the protesters that wanted to get up close and personal. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So San Antonio, Rob Hampson's signing, and a
Yes.
little bit of an informal gathering.
Mhm.
I'm
That's
not-
this Saturday.
Neither I won't make it.
That's all right.
Issues have popped up.
That's all right. You can be up here, and I will feed you.
Yeah.
I'm smoking. I'm smoking a couple of chickens, and I'm going to do a Greek salad. And I've got to go to the farmers market, and they're having a salsa competition, so that should be interesting.
Oh,
I may come home with some interesting things.
a friend of ours named Cat Hell. Cat's
And I may buy one of hers. That's what
yeah,
I'm thinking.
Cat's she's an author too. Cat was at the market buying some hatch chilies and apparently got challenged to a salsa contest
Yeah.
by one of the front runners.
Kat said she did mango and three. I didn't catch what the main pepper was. Might have been mango and hatch salsa. She wasn't shooting for a very spicy. So, but I liked.
She was buying peppers, and some Mexican
Yeah,
gentleman.
yeah,
said,
I
"Oh,
saw
sure,
that.
yeah."
I saw that.
Oh, contest?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, and
he nods and walks off.
Yeah.
Oh, it is on.
it's on now. And the good news side, the Navy is finally retiring another LCS. The Sioux City is gone after 5 years.
It was gone when it came out of dry. Excuse me.
Yeah, pretty much. But they were supposed to be 35-year boats, and they're we'll hopefully be rid of all of them by 10 years. Sioux City's only been out 5 years, and she's got every other problem that all the rest of the boats do.
Yeah.
And one of the comments that was made last night is, well, you could have given them to the Coast Guard. The Navy tried, and the Coast Guard went, yeah, up yours. We don't want them.
Coast Guard's not stupid.
Yeah.
I love the Coasties. I really do. I give
Yeah.
them.
This would be the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
I give the Coast Guard a ration of shit because I can.
Yeah.
But the Coasties are hell on wheels. They really are, and they know water better than the Navy does.
Yeah.
And if they say not taking the ship,
Well,
Coast
they know
Guard-
shallow water better.
and they know littoral waters. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And if they say your littoral ship is crap, you've been told.
But
LCS stands for Little Crappy Ship.
Yep.
It sure does. Or so I've been told by the guy over there.
and the Air Force is
That was ice cream.
trying to find a replacement for the C-17.
Why?
That is not a replacement for the C-17. What the heck is that?
Yes, that is. It's called a airlift prototype. Is going to be a blended wing.
No.
Okay, so you know what's going on there is somebody left a jet sitting out on the tarmac in Phoenix when it was really
Yeah.
hot and it melted.
Yeah.
And it just kind of spread.
Yeah. So that's the next thing coming. Yeah. Yeah, I will say that it was a good idea, ferry ship, because Vern Clark was a CNO, and that was his pet baby from Vietnam. So he was fighting the last war as usual.
Oh, that never happens.
They were minimally crew manned, not enough people if you actually got in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. I will just stop there. Yeah, Tom, some congressman needs to owe a favor to the airport. Actually, it's Boeing, because they're so deep in trouble with all the other stuff that they have not gotten contracts for, and the fact that the C-46 sucks. Yeah, they're blended wing theoretically are more efficient fuel-wise. However, there are also some questions about how effective they are in rough environments,
Just stick with.
how effective they are in high crosswind environments.
Order another 100 C-130s and call it good.
That would make too much sense.
My bad.
Yeah, it's a lifting body bird. Yeah. There is a stability issue. And one of the things that the C-130 and the C-17 get right is the fact that
Everything.
CG is manageable. So your fore and aft is manageable. Now, when you go to a lifting body, yeah, exactly, Kelly. The days of if it's not Boeing, I'm not going are done. Yes. Yeah. See how much off. Exactly, Becky. The airplanes on their test flights.
African natives.
Matter of fact,
on test flights.
there was stuff that fell off an F-35 at Oshkosh
Hmm.
in one of their passes. Kind of an oopsie. But they are talking about bringing back a variant of the 727 narrow body, because that is, to this day, still the fastest airliner.
Oh.
That sucker could haul butt. It could get 0.89 real quickly. And a 727 with quieter engines, that's a money-making short-haul airplane.
Wah,
I
wah,
have to
wah, wah,
wonder-
airplane.
I have to wonder how well air travel is doing, because it feels like more and more people are choosing to not.
Well, there are a number of problems with it.
Considering the last one that Rita and I took was, I have to say, and this pains me in my heart to say, the TSA was the best part of the whole trip.
And on that note,
that
we've
really
wasted
sucks.
We've wasted another hour of your time, and we're going to run away and hide. So thank you all. We do appreciate it.
Shopping for trucks sucks.
Write a story for the oil patch and send
Yes.
it to Jim.
Please.
Yes.
Oil patch does not have to be a love story. Can be a love story. Can be noir. I don't
Ooh.
care.
What
Noir and the oil patch. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, the oil patch, actually, if you know oil patch, makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
1890s, 1930s, give or take. Texas, give or take. Stories I need. Auf Wiedersehen. And the same to you too, Tom.
Yeah, sure.
Gesundheit.
Bless you.
Kelly, it is good to see you, my friend. Looking forward to you getting back out here one of these days.
That'd be nice.
And remember, folks, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty. Well, hell,
It's all
I can't
sweaty
say that
and
because it's all sweaty.
It's all sweaty.
It's
At least maybe it's fun sweaty, but you know.
No petting.
What is the old saying?
Bye.
What's the old saying? Hotter than two rats fucking in a wool